I think the one thing that's given a lot of people pause about Ohio State is Justin Fields. He did not play well at all against Northwestern, was really struggling. He didn't have Chris Olave, and I think Garrett Wilson struggled. I think the other wide receivers struggled. And I think Justin Fields struggled. And you could say holding the ball or missing open receivers or nobody was open or guys dropping passes. All that stuff, was a different thing on a different play. It seemed to me that really kind of confounded Justin Fields. But people came away from that game not as excited about Ohio State and Justin Fields. The first time in 20 games, he played kind of a subpar game. And, much worse than Clemson last year or Indiana earlier this year. And those were the only other two that really even approached this. So, I think he's got a lot to prove in this game. He injured his thumb late in the game. We don't know if that's going to impact this game or not. He didn't think it was a serious injury. So, and Ryan Day didn't think it was a serious injury. I think maybe a bigger question is Master Teague. He left the game with, as Ryan Day said, some kind of a sprain, which could be ankle or knee or wrist. I don't know. He took a big tumble on his big run down the middle of the field. He kind of went ass over tea kettles on that, or whatever that saying is, and took a really bad spill and hurt something and didn't play again. But then you put Trey Sermon in the game, and he has 331 yards. My father-in-law, who played college football at Ohio University and knows a little bit about this, said had that been Master Teague, it would have been 400 yards because Sermon, as good as he was still missing some open things and unable with some burst to take full advantage of some of the things that he got. So that'll give you the idea of what one interested observer thought, that Teague would have done much more with what Sermon was given. But Sermon had a hell of a game, though. So in a nutshell, I think Ohio State overrated Northwestern's ability to stop the run, didn't even try to run the football, it seemed, early in the game. And when the passing game really bogged down, they went back to the run, and Northwestern could not stop them, despite how great their linebackers may be, how rugged their front four seemed to be in other games. They had no answer for Ohio State's physicality, and that's going to play well for Ohio State, I think, in the playoff.
I remember getting texts from friends going back to the Northwestern game because there were some questions concerning the wide receiver play in helping out Justin Fields or not helping him out. And, of course, Chris Olave was the name at the top of the list in regards to guys that missed the game. But in regards to a positional unit, my thought was, okay, if they're going to take a hit at a positional unit, that's the one to take it. Olave's great, but it's deep, it's talented, etc. Maybe they missed him more than at least I thought they were. Our guy Vinay in the chat mentions Jameson Williams, who ran the wrong route on one of the picks from Justin Fields after they had run. Talk about the running game. I think they ripped off like 28 yards on 2 carries. Then they're throwing the ball. Fields throws the pick. Williams runs the wrong way. I don't necessarily know if there were multiple communication errors, but you guys can pick up on that. Tony, first, just in regards to that issue last week.
Well, I mean, that was a really bizarre route and throw on that one because Jameson didn't have any more room to run other than a couple of feet, and the ball wasn't there yet. So it's like, well, the ball's not going to get here, so maybe I cut up. But it was pretty surprising how much he missed Chris Olave and how much it delayed all of his entire thought process, and the lack of trust that he must have for other players. And then maybe that's why the throw to Jameson Williams was late. Maybe that's why or maybe it's something that Jameson did that's why there's not quite the trust that he has. And he's got this communication ability and this connection with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave that he doesn't have with other people. I saw Jameson Williams get really frustrated during that game. He was he was on the other side of the field, wide open, just in the flats as an outlet, and Fields forced it to somebody for an incompletion, and he was just begging for the ball, and one of the coaches had to settle him down. And you see they went to it right away to start the game, but it was a bad throw out of bounds, and it's then you only get to see him seemingly on various, or not various, but just this random check down when he's a third or fourth option. And he does a lot of different things for the offense, for the passing offense, in terms of clearing out the defense and things like that. I think he could do more with the passing game, but That's up to Justin Fields to get him the ball. It's also up to Jameson Williams to make sure he's doing the right things and the timing of the routes and snapping the routes and just doing everything that Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave are doing. And the things those two guys do is they get open and Justin throws him the ball, so he doesn't need to look for the third or fourth option because the first two are open.
Anything on that, Steve?
Yeah, I touched on a little bit earlier. I think the protection was pretty good. I wrote down coverage sack. I think he got sacked 3 times in the first half, and I think coverage on a couple of them. Maybe there was a breakdown on one of them, but by the offensive line. But, you're not going to block him perfectly every time. And, again, Northwestern had one of the top 20 rated defenses in the country. Now, I think when we were on the show last week, I ticked off all the terrible teams that they played. They played 5 of the worst offenses in the country in building those spiffy numbers. But, it took Ohio State a while to get a good plan in place. And I agree. I think Olave is just so good, so polished, makes the quarterback look 10 times better than he really is because of his route running and his precision and his catching ability and everything that he brings. He is so polished now in his 3rd year that he really makes the quarterback look a lot better. As you look at the stats going into this game, I kind of update a file on our site every week before the game, and you notice that Wilson and Olave were both over 20 catches for the year, and nobody else even had 10. And that really is kind of top heavy after 5 weeks, that nobody else on the team has averaged as few as 2 catches a game. That'll just tell you. And then you take one of those 2 guys out, there's going to be a big problem. And that's what happened. As we saw, his security blanket was gone. And they had a great corner, Brandon. I want to say Brandon Phillips, but he played second base for the Reds. The kid with the 6 picks on the season got his 6th pick against Ohio State, covering Garrett Wilson. Yeah, the ball was underthrown on the fade in the end zone, and the kid reached up, made a great play, and took it away from Wilson. I mean, tip your cap to them. Great play by them, but I think that kid and whoever else they had did the best they could to erase Wilson. He was targeted 10 times and caught 4 passes. I don't know what the ratio – I mean, I don't follow the NFL quite that close to what I know that used to be or became a big stat in the NFL. Now they've kind of brought it down to college. I would think if you're targeted 6 times, you should catch 4 passes, I would think. Maybe 7. I don't know. What's a good ratio? I don't think 10 targets and 4 catches is a very good ratio.
You pretty much go along with completion percentage, I would think, to a certain extent, even though the downfield guys are going to get longer throws that are going to be completed less than the checkdowns, but still roughly 65%, I would think would be a good, decent number there.
He had a ball 50-50 for a reason, right?
Yeah. When you throw the football, 3 things can happen, and as Woody said, 2 of them are bad. So
can't be doing that. Yeah,
you can't do it. If you got to do it, do it. But really, rather not doing it. And I think Ohio State fans on Twitter and on our message boards, I'm sure on Tony's message board, were just, livid with the red zone play calling. They were up in arms about what they were seeing and didn't like it, and had run the football down the field on one of those possessions and then tried to throw it in the red zone, and there were no windows open, nothing available, and I don't know, didn't get the ball to the tight end one time. I mean, you got Jeremy Ruckert, who caught a highlight reel pass in that game at that field last year, and you would have thought would have been a good matchup, but did not materialize, didn't catch a pass. Farrell didn't catch a pass. So, they left a lot of points out on the field. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
If only we could have College Football Nation vote before each play as to whether this is a good play call or not, and not just of course, if it doesn't work, it's not a good play call.
67% of America says this one's going to fail. Yeah. I don't know. There's too much side to side in this game. They asked him to throw a backward pass to Garrett Wilson, and it was fumbled. And it's like, what the hell are you trying to do? Is Garrett Wilson going to throw a pass then? I mean, he caught it, tried to catch it 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. and fumbled it and, almost turned it over back there screwing around 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It's like, come on, guys. They threw the flanker screen out to the side a couple times. It got blown up for losses. It just, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know. Not enough north-south. I said it earlier, and too much east-west.
Yeah, and the best time to throw the ball is when they can't stop the run. But when you're throwing it laterally, I don't know. I think that is not exactly the type of throwing we're talking about.
No crossing routes. I mean, Wilson is awesome on the crossing routes. Where were those? You missed Smith-Njigba too. He's played at least a little bit. Apparently, G. Scott must not be ready. Jamison Williams, to me, I'm waiting to see it. I haven't seen it. He's played a ton of snaps in 3 wide receiver sets, and rarely he doesn't even have 10 catches. I mean,
I think we saw more from Julian Fleming in
first
quarter
in this one game than we had out of Williams the whole rest of the season.
All right. Appreciate a super chat coming in here from
Alakazam.
Yes, Alakazam. Thank you. I think I mispronounced that the other week. I was like looking at it like it was Alaska something.
Alaska Sam.
Alaska Sam. Oh, good luck from a Clemson fan. Go easy on us. Not any tongue-in-cheek there, of course. But we appreciate the contribution there.
No quarter asked, none given in this game, I think.
Steve Hellwagon's in the middle from Bucknuts. Check out his work there at 247 Sports. Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Scoop. We appreciate these guys as well as Kevin Noon providing all this insight into Ohio State football each and every week. And hope all of you will join us back here next week. Keep that bell ringing for the notifications, and you'll know when we're going live with Ohio State Buckeyes live. Guys, have a great holiday. Merry Christmas, and hopefully we'll get back next week.
Yep.
You too. Thank you.
Yep. Happy holidays.